What movies can teach you about copywriting? If you've ever read a great book or movie, you're aware of the popular Hollywood formula for character development. Remember Star Wars? Luke Skywalker is an eager young kid from a desert planet who dreams of being an adventurer and saving the galaxy. He feels cooped in by his environment and tries to prove himself at every turn. He's drag racing, he's fighting the Sand People, mixing it up in the cantina, and arguing with Han Solo. When his family is killed by the Empire, he's whisked away by a space wizard who leads him right into the heart of battle, and as soon as he makes his narrow escape from the Death Star, he's off to join the rebellion. Everything he does is an attempt to measure his skills against the world around him. And when the rebels make that last run at the Death Star, he's ready to do it again. But as the moment of truth grows closer, the voice of his mentor appears in his head and tells him no, not this time. This time, the stakes are too high, and there's nobody here to bail you out. Doing what you've been doing is going to lead you to failure. Take a new course of action instead. Trust in the Force. He takes a minute to think about it. He closes his eyes and makes his decision. And there's a moment of triumph when that charge pays off and has a drastic impact on his life and the lives of the people around him. You've probably seen that formula in hundreds of movies. We like the main character, but he spent the whole movie making one mistake. But at the most important point, he sees the error of his ways, makes a big change, and saves the day. When we make a sale, we're telling a story, and our customer is the main character. She's a good person with a lot of positives, but she has a problem in this one area, and the only way she will solve this problem is by giving us money. We have the length of the sales letter to convince them that we're their Obi-Wan. The one powerful, magical person in a scary situation that they can trust no matter what. But we can't do that unless we get them reading. That's why strong headline and opening are so important. But what specifically can we do to deepen our connection with the reader, your buyer, the main character? Once we have the reader's attention and explain the offer, we want to tell a story that places them in a hypnotic state. While answering the questions that have grabbed their attention, we will tell a basic story. They're the main character, struggling against a set of powerful forces that are keeping them from success. They like this character and want them to succeed. We're the mentor character in the story. We're powerful, intelligent, and trustworthy. And we have the ability to solve their problem. Here are the techniques we'll use to do that. Explain their pain. There's nothing wrong with being a little negative in your sales copy. People spread negative gossip and watch movies where terrible things happen all the time. Think of all the movies you see where the hero is down on his luck. Maybe he's struggling with an empty bank account. His parents tell him to get a real job. His toilet leaks every time he tries to flush and it makes his shoes smell bad. He spends hours at a dead-end job he hates while dreaming of something better. His friends tease him about his poverty when he declines social events he used to enjoy. And worst of all, his fiancée is making eyes at other, more successful men. Movies show us all the details of how bad things are in order to make us feel sorry for the hero. In a sales letter, precise details show the readers we know what they're going through. Introduce the bad guy. What's a good story without a bad guy? We don't need to invent a dark wizard who talks to snakes here. So define your enemy based on your market. It's fine to rail against a mysterious enemy like the tough political climate or the gurus. But if you're going after a real defined enemy, you're eliminating them as customers. Be very careful and remember that the enemy isn't always a physical person. Sometimes it's bad weather, stress, or rising interest rates. The gurus don't want me to expose their secrets because they're the real stuff they use to make a living. But now the time has come. Democrats, Republicans in Washington are bankrupting the country with reckless spending wars, but you can sidestep the political fallout when you invest in gold-green energy. There are so many naysayers that you can get discouraged from making a living selling briefcases online, but this system can quiet those voices for good. It's not their fault. If someone is considering paying for a product, odds are that they've already tried other solutions that haven't worked. This is especially true in niches like weight loss. If doubt has started to creep in, it might be a roadblock to their purchase. After all, why buy another product if the problem is their weakness and laziness? So, divert blame from the buyer. The other times, they were being taken advantage of by some nebulous third party. This time, things will be different. You don't need to be subliminal here. Just say the phrase, "It isn't your fault," or explain why things go poorly for most people. It isn't your fault. The average dog training plan isn't suited to modern families. If you had a problem attracting men in the past, it's not your fault. Men teach boys from a young age how to relate to women, but the shoe is rarely on the other foot. Your solution? Time for a change. Once you've established what the problem is, it's time to start talking about the answers. Now you can talk about who you are, and more importantly, how you can help. Thanks to you, there's real hope for the main character to change their situation. Do you have compelling evidence or good reviews and testimonials? This section is a good place to share. Dig deep and give the benefits while explaining what it will be like once they've solved the problem with your help. The right and wrong with you. Discuss yourself, your product, and what makes it so credible. As always, write from the standpoint of what you've done in the past for customers. Provide interesting statistics and testimonials if you can. Feel free to downplay your product along the way. It seems backwards. You're trying to sell your product after all, so why would you point out flaws or problems with the program? There are 3 strong reasons. First, we're fighting off the objection that our great offer is too good to be true. This lets them think that they are buying something with a cool, level head, but we're just weaving a dream within a dream. The second reason is that we're merely stating the benefit of our program in a different way and deflecting a weakness at the same time. If our product is a 7-page report, we're going to say something like, "This product isn't a long novel that takes a long time to absorb. There's no fluff, just the important stuff that gets you results. I'll admit this product isn't very lengthy, but the value you'll gain. If it's a 10-hour set of videos and a giant ebook, the information in this guide isn't made to be digested overnight. This isn't an easy push-button system, but once you've followed the steps." The third reason is that we're establishing ourselves as an authority in the mind of the reader. They can trust us to tell the truth about everything: the competition, the hurdles and benefits of losing weight, training a dog, selling widgets online, whatever, and even our own product. We're not going to spend a long time downplaying, and we're going to drop right back into explaining why this weakness is actually a positive. Always be visual. Make sure that the customer has an opportunity to imagine how great things will be for them once they've bought your product. 2 or 3 times during your sales letter, write things that suppose they've already bought in. Once you've used my instant acne solution, pimples will fizzle away within 4 minutes of your first application. At the end of this seminar, you'll be in an elite club that knows the tremendous power of YouTube's underground competitors. Imagine the pride you'll feel when you can take your dog to visit friends and family, and even public places like parks. Overcoming natural objections. In movies, the main character always has some deep emotional reason why they aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and there's someone around that gives them the inspiration to get off the blocks and get things done. Remember all the concerns a fearful buyer might have about buying? It's time to pull it out. Whatever their weakness is, we're here to support them. If it's technical, explain anyone can follow this plan. If it's shyness and lack of charisma, explain that you don't need a lot of courage. If it's lack of cash, explain why this is an amazing value. Could they be jaded about this field? Explain why the stuff you're selling won't and can't be found anywhere else. You've talked about pain, so show them how you can eliminate that pain that you so clearly described. Start the journey. Now it's time to introduce the product formally. Again, think about movies where a main character has to change their ways. They get to step into the world of the love interest. Space wizard, small town sheriff with a heart of gold. They get to feel what it's like. Otherwise, why would they want to change? So take them away from the stress that you've pushed on them in your opening. Explain the features and benefits they'll get from using your product. You also want to provoke the imagination. You can outright describe the way they'll feel after using your product. Use testimonials and stories, or contrast the benefits they'll get from buying the product with the outsiders who won't get to experience that stuff. Your appeal in this section is going to depend on the emotional hooks that the market needs to make them comfortable. If you've been doing your research, you'll have no problem getting a sense of what should be done. Your offer. Raise the stakes. Nobody in a movie makes an important change as soon as someone tells them to. People are stubborn like that. But over the course of the movie, things get darker for the main character, and their desires gradually slide out of reach. The evidence starts piling up that their old way of doing business isn't working. They start to think, hey, maybe making a change isn't as bad as it sounds. You can create that effect when you give your offer. Really, a powerful offer is the most important thing you can have as a beginning copywriter. You'd be surprised at how much better your work becomes when you know that you have an amazing offer to provide. Over-deliver with an amazing product that obviously provides benefits. Something you would purchase yourself if you had the problem. Customers are jaded, so it's important to hit them with so much value that they feel a bit foolish if they don't make the investment. If the product has multiple components, lay them out individually if you have the space, and describe their features as if they were a product of their own. Furthermore, point out any bonuses and talk about what they can do. There's no point in working hard on a feature or your employer working hard if you aren't trying to make the best out of it. When you're finished, state the price of the product. Put the price in terms ordinary people can understand. If you can break the cost up into units, a week's worth of fancy coffee, a couple of pizzas, it makes the cost less objectionable. Call to action, the climax. Once the sales letter is over, they're going to be all alone again, facing whatever problem they've got. They can either do this by themselves, with techniques that haven't worked for them in the past, or they can do it with you and their product at their side. I've seen lots of seemingly great pitches get neglected simply because they didn't tell the customer what to do during the sales pitch. I know it seems a little crazy. I'm advertising a product, you might say. Shouldn't it be obvious that I want them to buy it? Not necessarily. A really good sales pitch can leave a customer in a near hypnotic state. The information on sales letters you've just read is some powerful stuff. It might seem formulaic once I've pointed it out and you start to see it everywhere, but these techniques are common for a reason. In the same way that a hypnotist tells you to wake up and feel refreshed when he snaps his fingers, you'll need to channel all the emotion you've put into your letter into a goal: buying your product. Don't be subtle or clever with this. If we've done everything properly, the customer is going to be in an extremely obedient state. Remind them again of all the great things you're giving them as a summary and tell them exactly what you want them to do, whether it's clicking on a link, filling out a form, or making a phone call. So vividly remind them of the consequences of not buying the product. There are a variety of things to include in your climax. While it doesn't have to be longer than a paragraph or two, you will be fitting a large amount of information into that little area. The following concepts should be included in your close to encourage the purchase. The opportunity. One thing to include is repeating what the offer is, including where they can request more information if they aren't yet sure. Be descriptive about what they will get after they purchase or sign up for something. You should evoke confidence in every aspect of the close, including the offer segment. The promise. You should also remind the reader what the promise is. You are showing how this particular product or service will solve their problems and are promising them results. Show confidence and explain again what it is that they are getting both physically and emotionally. Explain your unique value. You have to make sure that the customer knows they can't get everything exactly like this anywhere else. The product you are selling should be unique and demonstrate facts, reviews, and explanations about why this is true. Provide substance to your offer and promise by being detailed why you are unique and different. This can be through text as well as images or video. The price. The prospective customer will also need to know the price again. We're sandwiching it at a critical point between reassurance of our authority and explaining the price. The close might even be the first time you mention the price of the product or service. Justify the purchase. It also helps to rationalize why this is a good buying decision. It can be a separate section of the close or be included in the description of the promise and benefit of your product or service. Convince the reader that this is a great investment. Out of options, out of time. Even when you've sold something on the value of a product, they may have an instinct to come back and buy it later. They'll bookmark it, they'll let it sit for a while, and they'll get distracted by some other shiny thing. Not okay. We need them to buy what we're selling right now. In stories, the heroes have time deadlines. The detectives have 48 hours to solve a case. In action deadlines, the rebels need to blow up a deadly space station in order to drive them into immediate action. We can do the same thing in sales. Tell them it's a limited time offer. Before long, you'll either shutter the offer altogether because you don't want too much competition, or you'll raise the price. Tell them it's a sales limited offer. If you're selling personal tutoring, you've only got room for 20 students, and if they miss out, they're out of luck. Combine the two. After the next 30 sales, the price is going up by $100. Now you're making them sweat. You've sold them on value of the product, and now they're in a race with dozens, hundreds of invisible hands clicking that buy button. It's critical to create a realistic sense of urgency, and playing on these two factors will help you do it. It's important to keep your word. If you promise to only sell 100 copies of something, only sell 100 copies. If it's a limited time offer, limit the time you're going to sell it. That will add to your credibility next time. You don't have to do this in isolation. You should sneak it in subliminally by pairing it up with the benefits of your product. You don't have to face rejection after painful rejection from women who don't take the time to understand you. I'll show you how to avoid a small piece of your body language that will guarantee that no dog will ever obey you. Ever. Without the secrets in this seminar, you'll be on the outside looking in when Google revolutionizes social networking. Don't totally drown them in fear, but make it present. Provide a guarantee. This has two benefits. First, it completely erases the perception that you're a fly-by-night scam artist. Why would somebody out to cheat you promise to give your money back if you weren't satisfied with the service? Second, we're still weaving the dream of ourselves as trustworthy and helpful. We care about the customer even more than we care about our own profit. Our goal is to help them, and we're so confident in our product being the answer, we'll stake the check on it. And now the risk has been reversed. The customer almost doesn't feel like they're spending real money. Now, while guarantees usually increase the rate of sale, that isn't everything. There are times and situations where there shouldn't be a guarantee. If you're selling a product that is pretty subjective, or intended for therapeutic reasons like a massage or something like that, you don't need to offer a guarantee. You also don't need to offer a guarantee on a service that works as delivered, like a piece of software. If it runs and does what it's intended to do, and you don't want to deal with refunds and support in a shady industry, nothing is forcing you to offer refunds. Postscript. In a movie, an epilogue might show the hero relaxing and enjoying his success. No such luck in a sales letter. Use your PS to sum up the main benefits and give one last reminder to act. 90% of people will read the PS, even if they've skimmed the entire letter. If this is your first time, it can be really easy to doubt your own abilities, but the longer you work at sales advertising, the better you'll become, even if you're not an eloquent writer and don't have any money to spend. Do diligent research and lean on your swipe file, especially if it's written in a related niche. Adapt the general structure to your work while stressing your own benefits. All of the deep work has been done for you by the masters. All you've got to do is work hard and speak with passion.